It's a perfect image for the absurdity of life. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Vlad Bresnix. Welcome back to the BresnixCast, episode number 64. And it's going to be the first in a series of Metal Mondays because I've got a whole lot of metal shows recorded, so we may as well just do them on a Monday. And the first one, I'm joined by Ollie, Chris, and David from the German extreme metal band Firtan. Firtan are actually a really good band. I mean, their new album Okeanos is just brilliant. You can really hear, if you listen to their stuff, like the development of their sound over the years, and it's really gone somewhere good. So let's not arse about. Why don't we just get straight into it? Let's hear something from Okeanos. So I'm trying my best with these pronunciations because they're all in German, but so forgive my pronunciation. But from Okeanos, this is Nacht Farewell.
bringst nur Wille und Spiel. Was je schwer war, blaue Vergessenheit. Müßig steht mein Kahn, meine letzte, zögernde Seligkeit.
So I am here with Ollie, Chris and David from an upcoming extreme German metal band that I've really been enjoying, Firtan. Guys, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks for your invitation.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant to have you on. I've really been enjoying your music. So for anyone who might not, any of our listeners who might not be too familiar with you, why don't you give us a bit of a history of the band and kind of how you got started?
Oh, that's maybe Ollie's part.
So we started in 2010, I think. It was the time when I joined the band, and then from then we grew up and released our first CD actually in 2013. We had many guitar changes during that time. Well, I don't know. What do you want to know?
And I was just interested in just sort of like, you know, how you sort of, it was just a general sort of history sort of thing. It's not really the biggest of deals, you know. I take it you've had quite a few lineup changes then.
Yeah, sure. Most of the time the guitars, and then so Chris is quite new. He joined us this year, and David joined us 2 years before. So the other two guys talking here. And
Yeah.
I'm part of the band from nearly the beginning. Yeah.
So would you say, like, obviously the sound of the band has changed, like, over, like, you know, the albums as you've progressed, you know, it's become deeper, it's become more expansive, more influences and stuff like that. Would you say having, like, different musicians has added to that sort of change in the sound?
I think the thing is, most of the songs are totally written by Philip, who's not there today. He's the main songwriter, he's the vocalist and guitar player also. And the other guys exchanging didn't contribute that much to the sound, I think.
Well, I guess I think the different playing styles changed a lot, and this is really made clear by the current release. If you compare it with the previous album, you can definitely tell that those are different people playing, and
yeah, that's true. But I think it's also really much the development of the band as it is. So not the persons playing the stuff, but getting new influences, and Philip is also developing very much, I think.
Yeah. The playing and the style has become more diverse as the new members are more diverse, I would say, in comparison.
I think the biggest, let's say, improvement, for example, is your drumming, David, because it's, technically much more.
Yeah, it's more diverse, I'd say.
It's more apt to the task, which Philip lays out in the songwriting process.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, if you want to put a label on it, you could even say that the genre the band played before is different from what it is now, because I think with the first record, it's more. This is really what you would have in mind when you think of pagan black metal, and now it's. I think you could this with progressive atmospheric black metal, something like that. So this whole this typical pagan or modern pagan black metal, it's not really.
It's absent, I would say.
Yeah, it's not there anymore, to be honest. I mean, the topics, the themes, or the ideas that are integrated in the concept are still there, but it's not that. Yeah, it's a different style of music, I'd say. Totally.
Yeah, I think to sum it up, the music is getting more complex and darker. We are taking away some parts of the orchestration stuff, I think. When we were beginning, we had very much keyboards and stuff like that in the whole songs, and now we are concentrating on special pieces of the song where we add this kind of orchestration to make it even bigger for that part only. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mention that because, you know, a lot of black metal, you know, you still get the really kind of raw stuff, but a lot of it has become more complex and has, you know, like incorporated a lot of different styles of metal and different genres into it. Even two bands I had on the show recently, two Swedish bands, you know, Hyperion and Wormwood, you know, they would both be considered black metal bands, but, you know, they incorporate a lot of different influences, kind of the way you do as well, you know, into your music.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, this is also due to our personal development, both as musicians as well as people's. Because I mean, when the band started, Philip was about 18 or 19, I think.
No, 16.
Yeah, even younger.
Like 16, yeah.
And now he's what he listens to is, I mean,
very much different. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So of course there naturally are way more influences regarding the songwriting.
Yeah, but
that's
like
a big reason.
But also in regards of other bands, I think there's an overall draft in the genre towards more complex and diverse styles of playing.
Yes, definitely.
And I think this is a natural development, especially for black metal, since it used to be such a narrow genre.
Yep.
And of course, in due time, people playing this want to break out, so it's not avoidable, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and of course, this holds true for metal in general. All genres.
Of course.
Yeah, I was actually going to say something similar, funnily enough. I was going to say that, you know, unless like a genre starts to expand and change and progress, then it'll just become stagnant and it'll just die, basically, you know, because it'll just be the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. Every type of art needs a renewal again and again. It's going in circles, basically.
Or more in a spiral, if you want to stick to your point. Yeah.
And it's interesting because like a lot of bands like across Europe, you know, they choose to sing in English, but you guys have chose to sing in German. Is that more authentic for you?
Yep. In a way, you could say that I think there are two reasons for that. One being that we take a lot of content from especially German literature. You may have recognized that we use a lot of Nietzsche in the new for the new album, like lyric-wise. So it just makes sense to use the original language of the literature we used, or the ideas that are conveyed with the literature we use. And the second reason would be that German is usually considered as a harsh language, and I think it just underlines the harsh black metal vocals. So you have right from the language itself, you have the hard consonants and the harsh vowels. So it just makes sense to use this language, especially if it's your mother tongue. So it's
Yeah. And could you talk a bit more, because I've been like interested and I've read a lot of Nietzsche myself over the years, and I've always been interested in a lot of his ideas and his philosophy. So could you expand more on what some of the sort of Nietzschean influences on the new album were?
Well, I myself, I didn't really read especially the texts that were used for the album. Maybe David can say some things about that, because I just have some general
sure.
but not the ones that are especially used for Okeanos.
Well, first things first, because we didn't just, took the work of Nietzsche and used it exactly like he wrote it. And we used poems by Nietzsche, but more like, a script to follow. Mm-hmm. There are parts that are similar to the original text, and there are, and then we got to play with it. We altered it, and try to do it, make it become our own thing in some regard, but without losing the point which we think Nietzsche had in mind when writing the poems. So it's hard really to say what the outcome was supposed to be with this, because for me at least, I wrote a couple of lyrics. I think it was more like a flow of this happening, and and you could tell that it worked once you saw it matching up with the music, which is the most important thing for us, so that the lyrics contribute to the music, to the atmosphere.
Interesting. And then what does, like, again, I'm going to try and do my best with the pronunciation, but let's just call it the new album. What does that word actually mean?
Okeanos?
Yes. Okeanos, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Okeanos, yeah. Your pronunciation is killing me here, but yeah, but so what does that mean? The ocean?
Yeah, just ocean.
So why call it that then?
Yeah, because I think one general topic of the album, I mean, it's not a concept album in a traditional sense, but still water, or especially some kind of big oceanic whirlpools are a big topic in the album that pops up frequently. So this is because the music is resembled by these kind of phenomena in the way that water is usually considered as, or the ocean is considered as both is deep, is you cannot really grasp it because it's very intransparent. It's dangerous in a way. It's mythical, but still it's some kind of beautiful and very aesthetic. So I mean, these are some general ideas that about the ocean traditionally. So this is why this idea just resembles the album very well, I think. And
I mean, water is the common topic in all the lyrics, basically, or at least it's a reoccurring theme in all the lyrics. So the title came to us naturally, I would say, during the process of writing the album. And at least for me, the title of this album fits so good because, you know, when you think of ocean, you associate certain attributes with it, and I think at least I can also associate those attributes, like, you know, vastness or the wildness or the loneliness. I can also attribute those things to the music which we are writing.
Yep. Yeah.
So interesting, actually, and it kind of brings us to the sort of Nacht Verweil music video. See, I'm trying my best. I'm giving it a go. Give it a try, because there is like bits of sort of, you know, like clear running water in that, you know, and it's very kind of steeped in nature. And it's almost like I'll kind of give you my impression. You can tell me more about it, but you know, it is very steeped in nature, and it's almost like a kind of difficult journey. And you know, that could be a metaphor for so many things. But then you kind of see at the end that it's almost more than a journey. It's almost like a pilgrimage, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Those are very good pictures which you are painting here. Yeah. Well, I think in regards of creating the video, Ollie can say the most about it because he is responsible for it. He is also the director and producer.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the main concept.
No, go on.
Sorry.
Go on.
The main concept behind it was to catch some kind of the lyrics, not to really resemble the lyrics itself. So we just wanted to get the atmosphere right and to support the song with the right visuals. Yeah, to get you in the mood. And one really important thing for me was to not to include too much stuff going on in the pictures, so you get distracted from the music, because for me the most important stuff in music videos is the music, and the visuals are just supporting this one.
And where was that filmed?
It was filmed in Austria here.
Oh, was it? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And I notice a kind of interesting theme as well, because in the video, there's a lot of dirt on our hands and the face and stuff like that. And then there's pictures of you guys where there's a lot of dirt and stuff like that. So is that like symbolic, or is that just an aesthetic sort of thing?
Well, we are really dirty people. No, obviously it's about the aesthetics of this first and foremost. We try every aspect of this band should work in the benefit of every other aspect. So video, sound, the songwriting, the way
the live shows,
the way we appear the live shows, exactly. Everything needs to contribute to each other. And we figured out that this works. Maybe we are wrong, but so far we think it works.
And I mean, the traditional corpse paint that you usually have in black metal just wouldn't fit, because, as you said before, there is more to it than just the raw classical black metal style or the classical black metal aesthetics. It's just another point where we try to give the whole thing a kind of a development, and also to have a more natural look, maybe, that it doesn't look that like made up.
Like you're an immortal or something like that.
Well, kind of, yes. To integrate the more natural, natural resources, you could even say, that we use. I mean, it is mud. So,
I mean, it's kind of, when you think about it, like Dead, who used to obviously sing with Mayhem, he used to actually bury his clothes sometimes before gigs, and then dig them up and wear them while he was playing the gigs, so that it made him almost feel like he'd been sort of resurrected. So I suppose the kind of dirt thing has been around since the early days in a way.
Yes, definitely. Yep. Right. I mean, if you smell it, it just, I mean, I think as a musician, it also like boosts your performance or gets you into the right mood for it. So, I mean, I can definitely sign this one.
Yeah, and as well, I know what you mean about like bands getting away from the corpse paint. I even see that a lot with like the British black metal bands. You have bands like Fen that they don't bother with anything at all, no makeup or anything. And then you also have cool bands like the Infernal Sea, and they wear, if you know what I mean, those kind of plague masks that people used to wear during the Black Death that have the big, long, creepy snouts. And so they wear them instead of corpse paint, and it's very creepy and cool. So I like how people are, corpse paint can be still cool and done well, but I like how people are kind of doing different things with it now. It's not just that anymore.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
I think all the stuff with masks and so on, I think it looks really cool live with other bands, but it's not our style. I think we're not a kind of occult black metal thing where you could naturally integrate that, I think.
I mean, I think the most important thing is, and that was already said, is that it underlines what you want to achieve, or the atmosphere that you want to achieve. So that's the main thing. And I mean, we have friends of us, they have a band and they play more or less traditional symphonic black metal, like in the early or even later Dimmu Borgir style or Cradle style, and they wear traditional corpse paint, and it just fits. It looks cool, and it really empathizes the atmosphere they want to have live.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I can understand that. And it does make a lot of sense. I think as well, like, people know when you're overdoing it. You know what I mean? When you're like acting a part rather than being yourself. That's the thing, some people are trying to act a part so much that it seems ridiculous. And you can tell when someone's acting and when someone's being genuinely them,
Yes, that's true.
Yes, definitely. I mean, you always have to feel well when you do stuff like that. I mean, I wouldn't do anything where I felt, not comfy anymore. Because I mean, you need to play, you need to perform, you need to play your instrument, and if your makeup or whatever you have, just
the thing about this not feeling comfy with something like this is also, when you're not feeling comfy in such situation, when you dress up in whichever way, you know that you're a fraud, and music is some sort of communication. And what you end up doing while feeling like a fraud on stage is like lying to the audience. And people know this. People recognize this instantly. Even if they have no clue really about what's going on, they don't know you. Somehow people always know this. And you have no positive gain from it then.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely, and people always respond to things that are genuine. Like you find that unless something's being so over the top that that's the point of it. But like it's always more genuine things that people will always respond to. As it's just always been the case. And no, definitely. And I think I was thinking about this today. I think you're the first German black metal band I've had on the show. I've had black metal bands on from all over the world. So I was trying to think of like a lot of German black metal bands. So like, what's the kind of black metal scene like in Germany these days?
Oh, well, the scene is actually quite big, I'd say. There are a lot of, even bigger bands. Like, what do we have at the moment?
Der Veganer Freiheit, for example, or Imperium Dekadenz, Heruna.
Yeah, sure.
Bands like that, and they are well known or renowned across Europe, I'd say. But you also have a very, I think, a quite decent underground scene still. I mean, the older metalheads or the older black metalheads would say now, well, the scene died in 2000 or whatever, but I'd say that's not the case, because you still have, if you are into it and if you use social media, you could go to concerts, or you get invited to concerts like for every weekend. So the scene is quite alive, I'd say.
I think it's almost, like for the bit older people like myself, I'm an old fart. It has become a bit overwhelming because there's just so many fucking bands, and it's impossible to really keep track. And obviously you miss good stuff with this for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say so, because the good bands their names they pop up.
You of course you will discover those bands later then.
Sooner or later you will have them, or in your playlist, or you will have, read of them, and then finally you end up playing a show with them or visiting a show they play at.
I know what you mean about those older black metal purists as well. We've talked about them a lot on the show, the old kind of people who say that, like if it wasn't from Norway in the 90s and wasn't recorded on the worst possible, like microphones and possible, then it's not real black metal, and fuck those people. I'm just sick of those people.
In a way, if you're more like into the 90s, you should say that it's not black metal what we play in general, because it serves different purpose. We want to convey a different atmosphere. So, but still the roots are in the 90s still, like playing wise, the techniques that are used. And I mean, just the blast beats and the guitar shredding, that's all that was invented in the early 90s, or even in the late 80s. So I think it's just arguing about names. So let's just keep it with black metal and everything's fine, I'd say.
See, that's the thing. I like so much new black metal, but I would still say that if I had to choose, my favourite black metal album is probably still Death Crush. I mean, I know it's only 17 minutes long, but it's just 17 brilliant minutes. I listen to that all the time.
I can understand this, of course. I mean, for me it will forever be Philosophem by Burzum, which is for me the pinnacle of black metal. Yeah. Forever. Nothing will change this.
And that was kind of early black gaze as well, wasn't it, Philosophem, you know?
It was early what?
Black gaze. You know, like...
I know nowadays the whole depressive scene, which tries to duplicate what Burzum did, they refer to this album like this, but I don't think that this could really be properly named gaze in any sort of context, because those scenes developed, simultaneously, but not depending on each other. Mm-hmm. I would say this is mere coincidence that there are similarities, between the early shoegaze bands and Burzum.
Yeah, and I'd also say, and this is something we've discussed last weekend, I think, with the band, that sometimes bands, they have a totally different sound for different persons. We talked about particular bands, and for me, one band sounds more like even more happy, or not cheesy happy, but more hopeful. And for others, the same band just sounded very depressing. So, and I think this is maybe also a reason that labels are used differently for the same bands.
Yeah, and you always have to keep in mind that people who make claims, they stumble upon those bands at different points in their life usually. So obviously, somebody who was 16 in the 90s and got to learn about Darkthrone, Burzum, and Mayhem would never draw those similarities to the gaze scene. Of course not. But people which were in that age, maybe like 10 or 15 years later, stumbling across those bands and the shoegaze bands at the same time, obviously they will see the relationship musically.
Yeah, and that's quite an interesting take on it, actually. Never really thought about it that way. So like you're saying, like, it wasn't like Varg's intention to do that kind of thing. That's how it came out. And it's just those things, they both were going on at the same time, but they were not connected, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I think Varg Vikernes, as a musician, as a character, he's like some sort of genius by accident, Not really intending to do it, but pulling it off all the time.
Yeah, but he did it anyway.
Yeah,
he didn't pull off staying out of jail.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, that's where he failed miserably.
That's funny, because these were exactly the words of of his interview. He said he failed miserably about Euronymous when he tried to attack him.
Yeah, but he's succeeding greatly at growing his own personal Aryan army in France. I mean, how many dwarf soldiers does he have now? Like 6 or 7?
Oh my goodness!
Well, it's like, have you seen the film Until the Light Takes Us?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and the whole way through, you'd get this juxtaposition between Varg and Fenriz, and Varg is talking 90% about politics and, that kind of thing, whereas Fenriz is talking about music 90% of the time, and it just shows you the difference in the focus between the two of them, even though they were like in, kind of ostensibly the same scene.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially those two characters, they couldn't be further apart, I think, at all.
Yes.
But then again, you always have to keep in mind that, Varg, he was like in a time capsule for decades. And I think that's what's happening to you if you're in jail. And in his mental state, for me, I think he's maybe like still the 17 or 18-year-old guy. Because he's missing out of all the experiences other people make during the time they grow up.
Yeah,
and obviously, he got famous for being the super evil nationalist character, and I think this is still his strategy to to ponder on with this, just to stay infamous, so to speak. But what he's really doing is just like, not growing up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, because I mean, like, especially when you're that young, your 20s or whatever, you learn a lot of lessons about life during that time, that you take into your 30s. So, like, yeah, so it must be he must be a bit warped, having missed out on that, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think he will never reach the point where he can just finally admit, dude, when I was a teenager, I fucked up so hard.
Yeah, so hard.
Because that's what really happened. He fucked up so hard the life of another human being and his own life.
Yeah,
absolutely. And as you said before, it's I think for him it's still about that. Music for him serves the purpose of still romanticizing his ideals. And for a person like Fenris, who's really just into the music, he's really just about music, about arts, about development. And I mean, even in the documentary, he says that he's also into electronic music. It's not about the genre for him. It's just about having a good idea, having good music.
Well, I mean, Fenris.
What you still have now with Darkthrone. I mean, if you consider their discography, it's very clear that they developed a lot, and
I mean, Fenris has done so much. If you even think about, like, what was it, Isengard when he did the folk metal, or particularly when he did Neptune Towers, when he did the electronic stuff, that was really quite cool as well. So he's done a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And there was something I meant to mention as well that I forgot all about, because I'm usually quite interested in album art, and from I'm going to try again. Okeanos album, I noticed that the art is more abstract than your previous releases. Was that particularly on purpose?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're talking about the artwork itself?
Yes, the album artwork,
artwork? Yeah. Yes. Actually, we bought the artwork, so it wasn't drawn for the album. It was already there. It was an artwork by Dennis Forkas, and but as you can see, this is right. What you can see, this is this kind of ring-like shape, or this ring, and this resembles perfectly one aspect of the album, namely these so-called Moskenstraumen. There is no translation for it. I've already looked up. So these are these kind of very strong oceanic whirlpools that you have in certain places in the North Sea or in the Norwegian Sea, and this is just this. We recognize right away that this perfectly resembles what the album's about. So this is why we chose this artwork.
Oh, cool. See, I like that. I like it when the artwork really has some symbolism behind it and means something, And where do you guys see your sound going then in the future?
Well, I think I can speak for all of us when I say we want to play not only a lot of German shows, but also more shows abroad. But focus still is to have fun with the music, to develop further, to not lose the motivation. Yeah, because it's already a very time-consuming thing. Of course, no one of us can live from it. It's rather we are happy when we are at zero by the end of the year. So
it's a great hobby, I think. Yeah.
You do it because you love it.
Yes,
that's true.
Exactly. You just need to make that big album that breaks through.
Yeah.
Maybe this will happen sometime. Yeah.
Doesn't it annoy you though when you think about great bands like yourselves or Fen or like, you know, any of these other bands like Hyperion, and you think of how good they are and what kind of level they're at, and then you think of like arseholes like Cradle of Filth and how popular they are, and you're just like, what is going on here? Is the world full of morons or something? You know, it's just...
I don't feel like this at all, because, you know, even if I dislike the musical style of a particularly popular band, you know, being a musician myself, I know what's behind all of this, what kind of work.
Yes.
Because, you know, many people assume that those bands with those maybe cringy or cheesy styles of music, they just get to where they are because it's cheesy music in their regard. But that's not the thing. It's still a lot of work, and
a lot of stuff. You put a lot at stake because at some point you have to decide. Okay, am I going to do this, or am I trying to do this in order to get paid, or is it a hobby? I think this is the step where a lot of bands, like for example our size, like give it another year or so, maybe there is this EP or whatever we we throw on the market that would say, okay, now you're at the brink of becoming like a professional artist, or you can keep it going as it is. Yeah, and then I think not everybody in the band would say, okay, let's do this, let's go this step.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, you even have to respect people like, okay, let's go to the really bad ends of this. Let's say Nickelback.
Oh, okay. Do we have to?
I mean, you can say about those guys what you want. Still, in order to get there, you need to be able to pull it off, and it's just not the case that people think that, you know, those people in this awesome band, which I like, they should be as successful because they could do this just like them. I beg to differ. I'm really sure those people could not do it like this. That's the crux about it, you know?
Yeah, it's like what we call here the 10-year overnight success, because, you know, the public sees someone become famous and they think, oh, they've just become famous overnight. But they don't realize that for the last 10 years, that person's been playing small clubs and getting rejected from things and, you know, all the rest of it. They don't see all the work that goes into before they become that person.
Yeah, that's the point, I think.
I don't know about any successful musicians which didn't wait through years and years of utter suckage, you know?
Yeah. It's the same with your writers as well. You know, so many writers say they got rejected so many times from everywhere before anything got published, you know?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, for writers or painters, it's probably even worse. How many are discovered post-mortem, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, look at Van Gogh, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and that must be one of the kind of stranger things, you know, being sort of discovered after your death, you know.
Well, it's not a strange thing happening to you because you're unaware. So,
so you're dead, but
probably,
like...
Yeah, it's a perfect image for the absurdity of life.
Yeah. Really
I want to be famous when I'm dead. Yeah, awesome.
Brilliant. Right, so guys, we're coming towards the end of the show here. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that we should mention?
Well, maybe we can make some very general announcements. Very general in the way that we can say that we play.
Well, I would like to reach out to promoters in Britain so we get to play shows there.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we have one opportunity which will pop up probably, but nothing fixed for next year. But I'm quite sure we will come over some date next year. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Really looking forward to this.
Yeah, yes. because Britain is not so easy to access, especially when it comes to it's more difficult financially, to be honest, to get across. But yeah, we will definitely make it someday, and we hope to play some. some shows next year. Yeah.
But who knows what will happen due to Brexit? Maybe we are not allowed anymore.
Nah, you'll be fine. And there's a lot of great British black metal bands as well. So, like, it would be great if you could get over here on a tour. That would be excellent. You know, it'd be cool to see you live.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we would love to.
Yes.
So, and I know people who have been on this show who are in black metal bands listen to this show. So bear that in mind if you need a support band.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
Definitely.
Yeah, brilliant. So guys, thanks so much for being on the show. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Yes.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks again to the guys for coming on the show. I thought we got really quite deep into the subject of black metal there, and like it is interesting how it has expanded, and you know, like how it's still progressing as a genre, you know, even though despite the bad publicity it once had. So anyway, that is it for another show. The website BresnixCast.com. Follow me on Twitter at Vladimir Bresnix. My album is out. You'll find it on all your favourite digital streaming platforms. If you just search Vladimir Bresnix, you will find me. Let's finish off with another song from Okeanos. So here is Firtan with Eupherios.